He really wants under my desk for some reason. Like there's something back there. I don't know.
Yeah. So, right, I should mention, I was intending to, like, look into something for, like, Shaman King, right?
Is this something about golems?
Kind of, because I do know what the deal with, like, golems are in general, but, like...
Yeah.
What I'm more referring to is that, like, I don't know if you remember, but, like, way, way back, like, you remember the Patch Jumbo?
Yes.
Yeah, they, like, showed up at the not Air Force base that may have been a United States Air Force base that was really confusing. Yeah. I, like, asked our that it's like, we saw a lot of, like, other contestants in the Shaman fight there, and a surprising number of them ended up being real characters.
Oh, are
like,
those kids there somewhere?
Yeah, the golem's just walking around, and when, like, the plane disappears, you can see it, like, flying off in, like, bird form.
Oh, sick.
Yeah, you'd also see the effing, like, pyramid dude just riding a giant pyramid down. And yeah, somewhere in the background, I swear I remember seeing someone just flying a giant elephant. So yeah, good foreshadowing on that. I wanted to go back and see if there was, like, any other characters or whatever I could pick out, but I, didn't have time to. But yeah, this effing golem was, like, all the way back there, and now we're finally making a big deal out of it.
Yeah, apparently this golem is a big deal.
Yeah, it's like... I have to assume, like, Anne knows more than, like, we do, because she reacts pretty strongly to being like, wait, you guys have a golem?
Yeah. I think it's just because she knows what that means.
Yeah.
Or what it could do.
Oh, yeah, the entire episode, like, they're really building this thing up. Like, the way they, like, end the conflict is they just, like, like, of course, like, Mickey shows up to, like, save everyone, and he's just like, oh yeah, remember that golem? It could have just murdered all of you.
Not just them. I don't know, maybe it's just the subs I watch, because the subs I watch are kind of
Yeah,
bad.
the implication is that it's like, if they set to kill mode, it would just go wild and murder everyone in sight.
Yeah. The golem is an absolute death machine.
Oh, yeah.
If it's not handled correctly.
Yeah, that actually kind of makes a lot of sense, because, like... So, you know what the deal with, like, golems and, like, folklore and stuff is, right?
Vaguely. I know it's like a Jewish thing.
Yeah, I remember it's, like... All I knowledge comes from that one video that Jacob Geller put out, which is, like, a really good video on the topic, I think. At least it seemed pretty good. But yeah, it's, like, the whole story is that it's, like, the golem was, like... built in a time where, like, I think it was like the Jewish people are being, like, prosecuted or whatever, and they're being, like, blamed for, like, wrongdoings and stuff. So the story goes that they built the golem to, like, find the people who are, like, like, spreading these rumors and, like, spreading lies and, like, basically, like, stop them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, writes, like, Emeth to bring it to life, which is, like, a word that means truth. And, like, eventually the golem becomes so much of a threat that the king just, like, like, agrees to stop all the bad stuff that's going on if they, like, deactivate the golem, and he, like, erases one of the letters and it changes it to the word death. So yeah, that's why there's just this big image on this thing's chest. And we see, like, with the actual golem that the kids have, it's like, yeah, it's just right there in the helmet.
Yeah, and it's
more,
like,
alright, yeah.
It's also weird, like, more cybernetic.
Oh yeah, like, they've
like
definitely updated this thing.
Yeah, rather than, like, the clay golem design.
Yeah, I do really like them, like, the image they bring up and talk about golems in general. It's got, like, what I think it's like meant to be like the tree of life on like its little like like fold or whatever, like its little like belt.
Yeah.
And like you look at the like Marn Golem, and it's still got that pattern like on its chest, but it's like circuitry.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah.
pretty cool.
So yeah, this whole episode is just like, hey, remember that like trio of witch girls and like the house team, Hanagumi, that we keep like building up, like Kana and the other two? It's like
Yeah.
it's Kana, Marion, and like someone else. I forget what her name is, but it's an RM name.
Yeah, I forget what all their names are, but
Yeah, I
yeah.
really want to remember, but yeah, like they're like, yeah, they have their big fight with like June and like friggin' like Tamao,
They
cause
just
like,
they just wreck them.
oh yeah, pretty much.
And it turns out that Anna didn't need to leave at all, which means she could have stayed.
Yeah,
Anna left with the kids so we could get their traumatic backstory, which may involve Chocolove.
I'm glad you caught on to that.
I saw the kids in the window, and it's like, oh, her father was murdered on Christmas 3 years ago, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh. And we've established these kids of super powerful death golem.
Yeah, Chocolove's in trouble if they ever find out.
Oh boy. So this is like, I feel like I mentioned this a few times. This is one of the things I did like, hear out beforehand. It's like, oh yeah, Chocolove fights a golem, and it's a really strong golem.
Uh-huh. So they find out. Got it.
Oh man. Because I like now it's like, of course it's gonna go that direction, right? Like it can't not.
Yeah.
It's too obvious.
Yeah. My immediate reaction was, oh no.
But yeah, I do really appreciate that they're going this route, because it's like, oh yeah, like we've joked a lot about like, oh yeah, good and evil are subjective, and like, Ren's grandpa just got away with everything. But it's like, oh yeah, we have like a murderer in one of the main parties, and now he's gonna have to like actually answer to the people whose like dad he killed. And it's
Yeah,
like,
so-
oh.
Yeah, change person or not, it doesn't change what he did.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Like, I'm super excited to see where that goes.
Come on, get him. Come on.
But yeah, Az just looks at the trio after they've, like, presumably killed Kana's, like, oversoul or whatever. And she's like, oh yeah, June Tamao, are you sure you've got this? And they're like, yup, we can handle it. And Anna's like, are you absolutely sure? They're like, yeah, no, we got this. And Anna's like, alright, I guess I'll be back in a bit then. I gotta, like, save these kids and give them to safety.
Regardless of, like, how strong Tamao and June are, which they're not stronger than these three, by the way. They were still outnumbered.
Yeah, because...
Like, I don't know, they seem pretty overconfident.
Oh yeah, this is like absolute overconfidence right now.
Although, like, again, I'm pretty sure Anna just beats these three.
Oh yeah, like, if Anna just summoned her Shikigami, then, like, that'd at least be an even fight, like, at the bare minimum.
Yeah. Because even before Anna leaves, she's like, attack me or shut up, and they're like, yikes, this girl.
Yeah. Yeah, we learned that, like, effing Kana's totally not cigarette is producing smoke, and that's the real medium for her oversoul, the, like, crazy night ghost.
It's a cigarette. One of them literally calls it a cigarette.
Yeah, I'm just saying that because in the anime they changed it to this weird, like, pink stick, so it wouldn't look like a cigarette. And it's like, no, that's totally just a cigarette. She just smokes.
Yeah, well, it's either Tamao or June. They straight up call it a cigarette.
Yeah. But yeah, you would probably be really, really good at capturing a spirit made of smoke.
I don't know, Tanuki balls?
Well, that's one option, but then you just get your nuts blown off.
Yeah.
Man, like, even if he did capture him, would he just, like, stab his sword through the nuts? Like, oh jeez, this is
I
such a bad
guess.
attack.
I mean, I couldn't help but laugh at it because I hate him.
Like, as much as I hate Konchi and Ponji, I kind of feel for him.
I appreciate the fox, whichever one he is, because he's like, "What are you doing? We have to move. Get out of the way."
Yeah.
Like when they're about to get attacked, and they're just like, "Oh, their aura is so dark and depressing. We can't fight back against that." And I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, like, at the impression that it's like, so yeah, June and effing, like, Tamao just get stomped.
Yeah, Pyron gets dismantled.
Yeah,
And then he ceases to exist for the rest of the episode. And yeah, Tanuki guy gets his balls exploded.
Yeah, then, like, the fox guy, like, Adian pushed Hagar before now, but I guess, like, he doesn't actually conjure an arrow to shoot, he just fires his tail and then resummons it.
Oh yeah, because he gets his tail stabbed by
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper Pumpkinhead man.
Yeah, the pumpkin, which is just named Jack the Ripper.
Yeah.
He just, like, takes his tail and, like, Konchi, I think, just starts freaking out.
Yeah. Because he gets stabbed through the tail. It's gotta hurt.
Yeah, it's like, don't die, man. Oh, you'll get your tail back eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, June just gets stomped, and meanwhile, we just, like... Sorry, not meanwhile, it's like, they get stomped, and, like, the, like, witch trio's about to, like, wreck them. And, I have the impression that it's meant to be like, oh, we can't leave our spirit allies behind or whatever. It's like, oh, we can't run, and, like... effing, like, Mickey just shows up.
Yeah. I mean, that's not what they say.
Yeah.
Tamal, like I said, says something stupid about their souls being too dark and sad.
Yeah, it's very odd.
Also, their whole thing is like, oh, people called us witches and persecuted us. It's like, yes, the famous witch hunts of 1990 whatever, or 2000 or the 2000s. If this is supposed to, if the reboot is supposed to take place during this current time period,
I feel like it's still like the 90s, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm assuming because the original Shaman King. But it's still it's like, yes, the famous 1900s witch trials.
Like, I imagine it's like, well, like the 80s, like late 70s or whatever.
Shaman King's probably late 1980s.
I like when they were persecuted.
Still,
the
point I'm getting at is like the whole witch trial thing hasn't existed for like 100 or 1 or 200 years. I don't know.
Man,
however long it's been.
Yeah, because this has been like a thing they keep bringing up. It's like I can kind of see where they're going with it, where it's like, alright, like, say your kid just starts, like, talking with ghosts, and they realize they have, like, powers and stuff. That's like, yeah, that's scary, right? Like, maybe they had to be, like, brought to, like, like, different psychologists or something who thought she was crazy, or, I don't know. Because I'm trying to, like, imagine, like, what would literally happen that they're being persecuted over. It's like, I can kind of see a scenario where it'd be, like, annoying, but it's like, it's hard to be like, oh yeah, they were like, they suffered so much, because, like, we haven't really seen anything that would imply that.
Okay, well then whatever, like, even if it's just like, oh, people thought we were crazy and like we were witches because we could talk to ghosts or whatever, and it's not like a grand witch hunt thing, but more of like those kids are weird.
Yeah.
Okay, you're surrounded by other shamans who likely went through the same thing. What makes you special?
Like, because I think we did get something where it's like, was like, oh yeah, Manta's my first and only friend or something.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
he kept, like, moving
shamans are
schools and, like, couldn't make any friends because he was the weird kid.
Yeah, shamans, as we've seen, are known to be ostracized, like, largely because of their weird powers. And it's like, these three show up and it's like, oh, we specifically were persecuted. It's like, you ain't nothing. Everybody here, maybe not everybody, but a lot of people here have been through crap like that.
Yeah, it's like, Vibe Trial, like, our stand is like, you know, like, because, yeah, it's like, Yo's like, oh, yeah, he's like, he grew up without friends or whatever. It's like, alright, then just don't talk to ghosts in front of people. They think that's weird, so just be like, oh, it's just a prank, haha, and then move on.
I can kind of see what Yo is getting at. It's like, if they can't accept him for who he is, then I don't know. Like Manta, like, really embraced all the ghost stuff really easily.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was trying to, like, figure out, like, what situation would, like, show up where they would be like, oh, we're so persecuted and we are, like, you know, we're so tormented because of what we are and stuff that, like, made them this, like, crazy and resentful, you know?
I don't know.
And
unless we get their backstory at some point, we probably won't know.
Yeah, probably. I feel like, you know, we kind of need to explore that at some point. Actually delve into, like, you know, someone who's like, oh yeah, you know, my family, like, trains ghosts, and then someone found out and they, like, burned down my village or something. Yeah, something like that, right?
I mean, minus the burning down of, like, houses or villages or whatever, isn't that kind of Yo's story?
Yeah, but it's like, I kind of feel like we needed something a bit more extreme than just like, oh, people didn't like me and I couldn't make friends. Like, because this is an extreme attitude.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's the backstory, but they don't go into it. All we know is that they're crazy and they're like, oh, we're witches or whatever.
Man. But yeah, so they have their big fight, and, like, effing Mickey just shows up and, like, instantly beats them, and he's like, his first move is just walk up and then slap every woman in sight.
I very much appreciate this move. It's like the orange hair one is like, not even my parents ever hit me, and I'm like, yeah, that's obvious.
It's like, it's most things where it's like, oh, it makes sense, but holy crap, this is so weird in hindsight. He's just like, yeah, I'll teach you girls a thing or two, smack. And he just starts preaching at them.
And then he tells them that he'll be their daddy.
Yeah.
Which had me dying.
He, like, gives one head pats and she's like, yo, actually put off by it. He's like, you didn't talk to me about anything.
It's the one with the doll, I think. He gives her the doll and then, like, pats her head and she's like, huh?
He's like, take care of the doll, okay?
And, like, he grabs Smoker Girl's cigarette and just crushes it in his hand. He's like, that's bad for your health.
Yeah, I had rewatched this part of the anime. In the manga, he says something like, yeah, come on, don't you want to have a cute little baby someday? It's like, oh.
Okay, I like the idea that in the original one they wrote him a little creepier. hopefully not like because he's actually like a creep, but because it was funny to like he's saying all this not realizing how creepy it sounds.
Yeah, I get the impression it's like, you know, he just goes into dad mode. He's like, oh yeah, parental advice, let's go.
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be. But it's like the way he's drawn and him saying like, I'll be your daddy. And it's like,
yeah, he's wearing the creepy mask.
It's so funny. And then he slaps June and Tamao and he's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he makes super sure to slap like every single female character on screen. It's like, holy crap.
Yeah, he slaps the three bad girls because they're bad, and then he slaps Tamao and June to like get your act together.
Yeah, he's like, come on, leave your spirit allies behind. What are you doing? You could have died.
Yeah.
Who cares about Pyron? He's a zombie.
Yeah, and then he goes into this whole thing about how, like, the strong will defeat the weak and then will crumble to dust or something. Anyways, you three just leave. If you have homes to go back to, just leave.
Man. Yeah, there's something I do want to, like, just bring up at some point, because it's like, alright, like, I'm thinking this through from, like, a writing standpoint, right? Because I'm like, I'm like, looking at this as, like, a writer. It's like, okay, yeah, what's the purpose of this fight? Like, what's the purpose of, like, Mickey showing up here, right?
Oh, the point of Mickey showing up?
Yeah.
I don't know. the fight in general, like, before I saw the entire episode, I would have thought it would be, hey, look, June and Tamao are gonna do things to show how much they've grown or whatever.
Yeah.
And that doesn't happen.
Yeah, because I was, like, thinking through, it's like, yeah, this is, like, a really interesting kind of insight into, like, how the creator, like, tries to write the story and what they focus on. Because you think back, it's like, well, yeah, why does this fight have to take place? It's like, oh, yeah, because, like, Rin's dying and he has to have that death scene and we need Mickey out of the picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, alright, they're like, alright, we need an excuse for, like, Mickey to just leave this scene so Rin can get stabbed in the back by a giant skeleton.
Right.
So it's like, alright, so we'll just have, like, Hal's just send some of his, like, gang members out there and they'll, like, attack the kids and they'll, like, be a threat and, then we can, like, establish these characters and give Junimo and it'll be a whole, like, thing. And, like, Mickey shows up and just completely in character, these girls look at this really powerful opponent and they're like, this guy ticks us off, we should kill him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, Mickey shows up literally to stop the fight. It feels like a lot of our series would just have them be like, oh, he's so strong, we gotta go. But it's like, it's really interesting to me that this series puts, like, the characters first above, like, the plot necessity by having them be like, oh no, we need to, like, stop this guy and, like, kill him, and they just ignore all the warning signs. And because they also have to do Mickey's character, he just goes into dad mode and gives a big lecture that, like, draws out the plot more. And then enough like how, like, sorry, not how, like, a patch tribe officiant just shows up out of nowhere who's, like, loyal to Hal. Literally to just serve the purpose that Mickey showed up to serve in the first place. Because, like, this is the only guy these people will listen to, and he's like, okay, yeah, no, you can't win, you have to actually leave now. This is gonna go south.
Yeah. He shows up and he's literally like, you can't beat him, leave.
But yeah, that's like really interesting, because that's like, I feel like that's been one of this series' like more consistent strengths, is like, the characters are so, like, fun and, like, clearly defined and stuff. And this is, like, interesting little, like, look into that, right?
Yeah.
Like, I'm hoping I'm making sense here at least.
There's another scene that I kind of like. I burst out laughing because of how stupid it was. And it's the little boy is carrying his sister on his back and he's like out of breath because of it. And he's like, oh, right, I have to carry her because she won't move. You see, she lost her emotions. And I'm like, and I start bursting out laughing. Like, what does that have to do with anything?
Like, I get, she's like comatose until it comes to, like, using the golem or whatever. I was about to say Gundam, but yeah.
If he had said my sister has been mentally scarred and so, like, she doesn't function correctly or something like that,
Yeah.
okay, But the explanation of, oh, my sister lost her emotion, she can't walk. It's what?
Yeah, it's a very strange way to phrase it. Like, I guess they got the point across.
It just made me laugh because it's so absurd.
Oh, man. But yeah, I should also probably mention is, like, there are a few things they, like, changed, but just kind of slightly.
Oh,
Like, yeah, you remember when it's like, yo, there's just a bit where, like, Ponchi and Konchi start, like, saying crap and just being annoying.
Yeah.
It's like, what are they saying, like, the anime? They say something like, yo, oh yeah, I'll, like, grab her balls, and the oran's like, I'll squeeze them or whatever.
Oh, yeah, they say they're gonna crush their balls or something.
Yeah. Yeah, in the manga, it's, like, way more logical, and it's also way, way worse.
About grabbing their boobs?
Yeah, no, it's a bit worse than that, because, like, one of them's like, oh yeah, I'll strip down, and then the other one says something so bad I don't exactly want to repeat it.
Yikes.
It's like, holy oh no! Ponchi, no!
There are only so many places to go with that, and I don't really... If it's what I think it is, I don't want to say it either.
Oh yeah, that was like, ugh. Those spirits are terrible.
Yeah, so moving away from the worst characters in the show.
Yeah, it's like, you have that in mind. It's like everyone's reactions makes way more sense because everyone just looks at him like, oh my god, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's like, oh. Yeah, there is...
Ponchi and Konchi are the worst. They continue to be the worst.
Oh yeah, that's... Ugh. Yeah, moving away from that, as you said, there's another slight change they made, which is that, like, they removed this for the anime for, like, pretty obvious reasons. But yeah, when Anne summons the Shikigami, like, they just have a big shield with, like, a manji symbol on it.
Oh, is that the one that looks like that the swastika was made out of?
Yeah, it's like, it was the symbol the Nazis inverted to make the swastika.
Yeah, okay.
And it's got, like, it's got a lot of, like, like, really, like, interesting real world, like, meanings behind the original symbol and stuff that are, like, positive and not terrible at all. But because, like, that symbol was reappropriated, it's like, it's no longer really good to throw that out there for obvious reasons.
Even in its original form, it's like, you still recognize it as the bad thing.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, super, like, logical change there, yeah. But it's worth pointing out. It was kind of interesting that was, like, in the manga as like, like the 90s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like that's, like, most of what I really have to say about the episode, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much everything. We don't even see Yo and friends in this episode.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I should mention, like, I switched to a different source to get the manga translations, so, like, stuff may be a bit, like, odd or different or whatever. But, like, there was, like, interesting thing, which is, like, there are now translators' notes at the end of each chapter.
Oh, that's useful.
Yeah. And it's, like, so far, it's, like, nothing too crazy. Except there is one note at the end of this episode that basically says that, like, the next chapter starts, like, a new arc. And it's, like, apparently the translator's favorite one in the series. So that's interesting.
Huh.
So yeah, that's something to look forward to, I guess. So yeah, Oh, sorry, what?
Huh? Oh, I just said yeah.
Yeah, so, like, any final thoughts or whatever?
No, not really. The episode is what it is. Whenever it's like, oh no, they're going to kill Tamao and June. It's like, oh no, I wonder if Anna's going to show up. And the answer was no, but
Yeah.
I thought, like, I thought it was weird. Like, they keep having to remove Anna from fights because they know how powerful she is.
Oh yeah, like, It's like, hey, how strong's your effing Chucky doll? Is it strong enough to keep its soul from being ripped out of it? Let's see.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Oh man, but yeah, I like this one a lot. It's like, yeah, it's a solid little like story, right?
Yeah, I still want Anna to do something. It's part of it is like frustration that they don't just use her to fight someone.